So this panel is something very special. Since I've been joining this industry and created this conference, I've been analyzing the agenda very closely. And when we hosted our conference this year in April for CrossTech Latam Brazil, I had a big observation. 95% of the industry is male dominant, and nothing against them. We love them. They're part of our family, part of our life, but why does it have to be that way? How can I create a platform through my conferences, through my social media, through my marketing campaign to give more space to women so we can have a platform to be able to inspire, motivate, and really position other colleagues to success. So it is my honor that each one of you are here today to talk about your experience, your perspective, and the difference that you have made in the industry. So before we start, I don't know if you know them, so I'm going to introduce myself and invite them to give a brief description of who they are, what do they represent, and all the things they know. We tend to make this very personal about you, not so much about your company, even though we love your companies, but we want to be able to inspire us as human and as professionals. So I'm Priscilla Friedman. I'm COO of CrossTech. A lot of you have known me already, but I come from the financial services. I worked in American Express for about 9 years. Actually, I met Ximena at American Express, I think 15 years ago. Don't count my age. So a long time, and we used to manage GNS Latam together, travel all around the banking partnerships for Amex, and now that I see Ximena running around and taking leadership positions within the fintech is really pleasure to have you here. And our lives, we re-encounter together, so it's phenomenal. And I've been with Hugo for about 2 years almost now, and we're trying to revolutionize the cross-border payments and really bring new faces, new companies, and new talent so we can continue to make a difference in the industry. So I'd like to pass it to you, Marina, so we can learn a little bit more about you.
Sure. Thank you, Priscilla, and thank you to CrossTech. Everybody can hear me, right? Yes. Okay. This is an amazing opportunity and really a very significant panel to have and an important conversation to have in the industry for sure. So I'm Marina Olman. I'm a shareholder at Greenberg Traurig. I'm in the financial services regulatory compliance space. I've been practicing law for over a decade. I started as a baby, 2006, being trained as a banking lawyer. I was raised as a banking lawyer, essentially. For at least 6.5 years, I worked at a law firm in Florida. It's a large Florida firm with a very strong financial services practice. Back then, we didn't really have a lot of fintech, at the time. So really, most regulatory compliance lawyers in the financial space are really banking lawyers. So I practiced essentially banking law for over 6 years. I had 2 kids. And after I had my second kid, I said to my husband, I'm going to take a break and be a mom. And that caused shock. Just, how are we going to do this, How are we, you have an income, I have an income, but we're going to be in one income. Like, yeah, we're going to have to do this. And I felt like that's what I needed to do. So I told him, don't worry, I'll only take 1 year and then I'll come right back. Well, 1 year became 3 years. And just because of, who I am, I'm very active. Within 4 months, I got my real estate license, started doing real estate sales because I've always thought that was an interesting area. But by the second year, I actually, started noticing I missed my practice and who I am and the fact that I'm a regulatory lawyer and this is the industry that I love, and I started missing it. So slowly made my way back. I'm now at Greenberg Traurig. I actually started at Greenberg over 6 years ago now. I started as a practice group attorney, sort of in a part-time kind of role as I transitioned back into the industry. And then essentially just took off from there. I became shareholder at the beginning of this year, and recently in the last 4 months, I'm actually now leading the financial services practice in the Miami office, which has been an incredible honor, incredibly exciting, challenging for sure. But it's been amazing. So that's sort of a recap on me.
And I also wanted to add, and she's also part of the CrossTech Compliance Council,
Yes.
where she provides advice for us into what are the topics that are relevant in the industry that we should be focusing on, and how can we guide the cross-border payment companies to be able to start doing it right. And that's why day one, we wanted to make sure that we had our compliance community included. We had the AML courses, risk assessments, so Marina is also part of that creation. Yes. So we really thank you for your contributions.
No, it's my pleasure.
That's why she also got a CrossTech shirt. So if you want a CrossTech shirt, please talk to me on how you can contribute so we can continue delivering to the industry. So now, Arina, talk a little bit about you. When I met you, I saw your profile on LinkedIn. I was pretty impressed. I read founder, NASDAQ, innovator, creator.
Guilty.
So tell us a little bit about your history.
Okay, first of all, so honored for me to be here. And I was so excited about today and share on stage with such amazing ladies. I was bragging about it, so I almost lost my voice. So I'm sorry if I'm being a bit harsh. So my name is Arina. I'm a founder of CashQ. We are a cross-border payment API service for banks and neobanks, enabling instant real-time payments only with the phone number, a borderless version of Zelle. So enough about the company. So I graduated from Boston University. Originally, I'm from Ukraine. So graduated from Boston University with a computer science computer science degree with the strong belief that the woman role in tech generally and women and fintech in the future will dramatically increase. Well, my prediction was right. I wanted to build a fantastic product that would empower millions people around the world and couldn't imagine to do anything different. Also, I knew the statistic and data against me. I'm an immigrant, I'm a woman, right? And I knew it's not going to be easy. So I'm one of 44 million immigrants, first and second generation, living in the United States. And me working in remittance, it's not going to help, but it's okay, thank you. In me working in a remittance space, it's a, I would say, personal challenge. I'm sorry. It's a personal challenge.
You're doing great. Women supporting women.
Thank you. To disrupt the industry, right? And to fight discrimination on digital product for low-educated immigrants. So yes, it's up and downs, but it's wins and losses. But I have my amazing team, my incredible community which supports me. So I'm proud.
I think, Arina, to touch back on your point, I'll go right back to you, Ximena, is we all have the social impact mission, right?
Yeah.
Me, that's my number one priority. Ugo, he's writing a book to talk about the evolution of how we transform the industry. So we are here because we believe we're helping society be able to move money back and forth to their family through compliance, through bringing technology products, to bringing fintech, e-commerce, marketplace solutions. So I think we all share that core value. So it's really, and I think all of us here also have a background, right?
Yeah,
a background
we know how to
immigrant.
protect, right?
Yes.
We know how to protect humans, how to help humans, right?
So now I wanted to talk a little bit about you, Ximena. You know, I love your profile. I know you from before, and I know you when we started launching prepaid cards in American Express 15 years ago. And now when you think about prepaid cards and the digitalization that we are today, it's like, wow. Exactly. So tell me a little bit about you and your progression in your career and your areas of focus and expertise, and a little bit about who you are.
Perfect.
I know you're vegan and you love that, and I support you.
And I'm going to use that argument soon. But thank you for being here, Priscilla. Thank you for the invitation. I'm super honored. I'm humbled to share the stage with all of you guys. So yes, I started my career actually with Boeing. I'm an engineer. But within 1 year of Boeing, I realized that despite the fact that I was an engineer, I could do the same job at any type of company, and I love service companies. So I moved to Amex. I gladly took an offer to move back from Seattle to Miami and be part of the Amex team. And I think Amex has shaped a lot of who I am as a professional right now. I stayed with them for 7 years. That's where I got the pleasure to meet Priscilla.
And Eric Schneider too. We were
And
all on
Eric
the
as
same
well.
team.
Where is Eric? And yeah, we first in the capacity of an engineer, which allowed me to understand payments to the core, and which has built the foundation for me to be able to move into other roles in the industry. And then I moved into the business side, which, as Priscilla mentioned, kind of working with different banks, issuing and acquiring to kind of get American Express capabilities across the board. Then I didn't want to be limited by region. I didn't want to be kind of only in one aspect of one geographical area. So I took an amazing offer from Discover in Chicago. I moved there. It's become my favorite city ever since. That's where I would love to live. But anyway, so with Discover, I had the opportunity to go beyond LATAM, which really opened my eyes a lot. Like, it taught me that you don't necessarily need to be tied to your same niche to make an impact, whether you're a man or a woman. You can go expand your geo and really learn a lot about, in this case, payments and fintech in other regions, and that will really help, to soar your horizon really quickly. After being with Discover, I moved to Uber in San Francisco to manage all the payments in the Americas region. Amazing company, really high performing. I had an amazing team, so I learned a lot about the other side of payments, like doing mass payments to multiple users across the globe at once. So I think in that sense, Uber is one of those companies that teaches us a lot how to do payments. Thinking about the massification of it and the digitalization of it. And then I took my last job, and I'm the former head of Latin America for Rapyd. I am no longer with them, amazing company, but then I had the opportunity to come back to the region and work with amazing partners across LATAM to build the best payment solutions for businesses. And I did that up until, I think, a month ago. I'm in a transition process right now to also an amazing company.
Who is going to be in CrossTech 2023.
Exactly, absolutely. And on a personal note, yes, I'm a vegan. I've been for 8 years. It's very difficult in corporate to be that way, but I think when you want something, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, when you want something, it doesn't matter what it takes you. You need to be who you are and be authentic, and that shouldn't be refraining you from any success.
And in order to continue my friendship with Ximena, I have tried every vegan restaurant in Miami. So it tastes delicious, and women supporting women. So I love that about you. So let's talk a little bit about the evolution of cross-border payment and how that has changed since you started. Ximena, you and I started in MX. We were launching prepaid. Today, look at me. I'm wearing sneakers, a T-shirt, and a blazer, so I can fit in, right, and become a fintech or a CrossTech, however you want to call yourself as a company. So tell me a little bit from your experience, Marina, from compliance. So I know you told me that you took a break, you came back, and then you were like a machine. You ran, and now you're partner, and now you do all these things. So tell us a little about that evolution, especially I think in the last 12 months, because I think that has been the biggest impact, and I think the speed is also important to discuss.
No, absolutely, and I'll let the industry experts also comment on it, and I can comment more on the regulatory compliance side, but oh no, absolutely. I mean, since I started practicing, this was 2006, we're looking at 180-degree difference. I mean, completely different. Everything's very digitized, much faster. Consumers expect that. For me, especially, what's exciting and what I see on a day-to-day basis is constant innovation. It's incredibly exciting, even from the lawyer's perspective, even more from the lawyer's perspective, because now you have to actually understand the service, understand the model, be able to guide clients as to how to structure it so that you're lowering your legal risk, your regulatory risk, and be able to, be successful, because that's, of course, that's the key. From the business side, that's my challenge and my passion, actually. On the legal side, it's keeping up with all these, regulations, legislation, it's nonstop at the federal, at the state level. Kathy is an amazing expert, and the MSBA is incredibly supportive in this. She provides us with legal, legislative updates on a monthly basis, primarily at the state level, which it's impossible to track without, you, Kathy, and I've told you that. But it's just everything's changing so fast. There's so many proposals. Regulators are trying to understand what the space is about. So there's, a constant challenge of understanding, of keeping up, which I love. I mean, it's very exciting. And then also be able to engage and make a difference, be able to, provide comment letters, be able to guide regulators as to how things should be regulated, whether it makes sense to regulate, whether it doesn't. So we are now at a point in the space as lawyers to make an impact. And even in the industry itself, as the industry evolves, we're all making an impact here. So it's a big change from my banking days, for sure.
I love that. How about you, Arina? Let's talk about founder perspective.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, from the founder perspective, it's incredible how many opportunities for how many people from the different background, right, the tech opened up. So, and it's fascinating. You can build some solution in the Americas and someone in a different part of the world simply integrate it and using it in day-to-day operations. Plus, it gives us, as a founders, right, and not only give us an amazing opportunity to find talents and work with anyone around the world and build something special.
So now I want to hear about you, Ximena. Credit cards, now you are in fintech or CrossTech. So what do you think has been the biggest evolution? We had a discussion yesterday on my panel from Brazil, and they were talking about, is credit cards still existent now that everything is so digital? And then we were talking about, the different loyalty programs and how that has become more relevant, which is part of kind of like our education when we learn how to become executives. But tell me a little bit, do you believe that, or how do you see the evolution of the cross-border payments?
I think it's just significantly big, the difference of things that when I joined the fintech or the financial services sector with Amex back in 2008 to where we are today. And I think that thinking about in retrospective, I think I would like to kind of phase it out in three. When we were in American Express, the focus was a lot on physical cards, credit cards, debit cards. Yeah, loyalty was a very big thing for Amex, maybe not so much for others, but it was a very value-adding proposition from that perspective. But even I would like to refer to an anecdote at Amex when I started, I threw myself at elements of financial services that back then were a little bit more not known, like technology, of how it operates behind the scenes. What is a chip? What is a cryptogram? And I think that's the base that had helped me to get where I am right now, and how to interact with engineering and technical teams, understanding their language a little bit. So back then was that way, and I said to my team once, we need to roll out contactless. This was probably 2011, 2012, and a lot of people that's not gonna even be important. And we saw what happened with the pandemic, right? Everybody trying to migrate their products to contactless, do not touch anything. So it has evolved from that vision as to everything is about selling cars, selling a program, to let's modernize it, let's digitalize it. And then to today, where we're seeing the onset of new use cases and new kind of payment forms, the advent of local payment methods, not necessarily the global payment methods that we've known before, and definitely the advent to today of digital wallets. I think digital wallets are becoming a huge part of everybody's proposition now, and we saw that all in Money 2020, that is becoming the great thing. And obviously it's powered up by super apps and the movement about super apps and who will be successful at rolling those out, but it's definitely a big one. But I think that credit cards are not gonna disappear very soon. Cash has not disappeared, still exists, even though we want to ignore it exists as the biggest competitor of our products, and credit cards are still have some long way to, they will migrate to other forms, but still under the same value.
Thank you, Ximena. So you see, when I was looking for a panelist, I said, I want different perspective, right? And I have compliance, I have founder creative, and I have an expert of fintech. So let's go to the next question. I always like to talk about problems, challenges, because we can all sit here, talk about how great we are, but we know life is not easy. So let's talk a little bit about what has been the biggest lessons or learning that other people. I know this year my focus was to bring in new companies, startup companies, companies that are evolving, and they want to learn from the mistakes. So Marina, you can focus on compliance, you can focus on founder perspective, and then you, Ximena, in the fintech. Who wants to start? I don't want to pick on you. I'll let you empower yourself.
I can start. The challenges. I think that sometimes we can't deny that there's some typification, stereotyping out there. For sure, we have some gender gaps that become an obstacle. But for me, what has worked personally throughout these 14 years or 15 years of career is that I never like to think ahead about that. So when I started, traveling across LATAM, meeting with banks, most of the time I was the only women in the room. But I never thought about that fact until the meeting has passed. And I try to act like we're just a team of people. It doesn't really matter if there's 50 men and myself. I'm just one more, and I'm just gonna show that my point of view has value to this conversation. So I never felt threatened by that, and I think that has given me a lot of confidence throughout the year. And I am very happy to see that has evolved. And now when I go and sit in meetings in any region, I think that I see more of us in the room, and I love that, but I feel like we have a long way to go. But I also have a way of thinking that you need to get what you deserve, and to get yourself a position at the table, you need to also show value and of course being humble, but show value to the conversation. And if that's the case, people, whether we call them men or women, will see your true value and will always value your point of view. That's my lesson throughout my career, coming from a feminine perspective.
So from, I guess, a founder perspective, my opinion, so it doesn't matter you're a female founder, or you're coming from the corporate world, there is no secret sauce, right? So just work hard, believe in yourself and what you do, be persistent, and the sky is the limit. And that's what my view on life, and that's my lesson.
No, I fully agree. I mean, I can say, coming from the banking side, where I started, I was very often like you, Ximena, 1 out of 30, only woman in the boardroom. And usually the most junior one, so my task was take notes, right? This is where we come from. I learned a lot about that. And as you grow more and more and you show yourself, whether you're a man or you're a woman, if you have the skills, you're gonna get to where you wanna go. If you have the drive, if you want it, you'll get it. But you have to find opportunities, and you have to be able to take them. And I actually wanna bring up a quote that I heard once, and I love, and I stand by, and I think Ximena and Arina, you're both gonna be, you're gonna be able to relate, but it's a quote by the first African-American woman that was elected to Congress. And she said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair.
Exactly.
Right? And that just means if, people overlook you, whether it's because of gender, it could be other things, right? And you want to participate, be there. Whatever way you can, be there, be yourself, and give it your best shot. It may or may not work, but give it your best shot. And that's sort of been my learning lesson.
Thank you. And I wanted to give a little story. So this is the beginning of the chapter for CrossTech Women. So this year is something that I challenged Hugo, that I said, I want to start a panel for women. We did it in Brazil, now we're doing it again. And I think next year, I want to be able to build a platform to support more talks like this. I'm even thinking maybe we had a meeting yesterday. I was the only woman in the table, but I have a problem. I'm very transparent, and I called it out. and one of the things that we discuss is how do we get you guys in the audience, the C-level male executives, to support us, because I can't do this without you. So we need to have this open communication to really be able to really open that seat. Because yes, I'm always with my folding chair also, but I think it has to be more than that. It has to be like a broader, it cannot be a taboo anymore. And one of the things that I asked, we had an intimate CEO meeting yesterday, and I asked, I would like each one of you in this room to look at your work chart and really see who are the C-level executives. Do you have diversity? Do you have different perspective? So that way you can really do a good combination of ideas. We think different, and we can really make a difference. So I'll give you my promise that this is a platform that I'm gonna continue to develop, so that way we can inspire and really position women in different companies in different stages, if you are a startup, or if you are a corporate executive, or if you are part of an association like Kati, who is such an amazing woman who always supports us. So you have my promise on that. I can go on and on about this. But now I wanted to talk about to continue growth. So I have a lot of women who follow us on social media. Some of them sent questions prior to this. And the main questions that they've sent is, how can I continue to grow as a professional and as a person? And I want you guys to talk a little bit about what kind of advice and inspiration we can give to all the women here that are in person that came to support us, but also to the ones that are watching us as online. So who wants to start? I can start. And then we can go from Ximena all the way around. So I think one of the things that I've learned in my career, I always try to position my opinion and to give my holistic view very clearly. And I'm not a yes person. Like, if I don't agree, I have board meetings. My board is also all male. So I'm recruiting any women who wants to be part of my board. And Ron is laughing because he's part of my board as well. And sometimes we have board meetings that, yes, they all have this opinion. I say, no, guys, this is a great idea, but it's not my reality. I cannot implement it. So yeah, it may sound good on the paper, but I'm living this every day. I'm analyzing the metrics. I'm analyzing my budget. It's not possible. And sometimes, you have to be able to be strong. And you have to be able to really put the feet on the ground. And yesterday, Ron, I'm going to mention our conversation. Ron said something to me. He's like, you know what, Priscilla, I appreciate it. I appreciate when you tell me no, or when you say now it's not the right time, because I understand now why. Maybe that wasn't clear in our first board meeting in January, but now we are almost in November, so we've been learning together to build this. So I think progress is important. And as a woman, it's important for us to know how to say no. We can't be always a yes person, no? And I think that doesn't only go for women, but we tend to have that. I think it's also from childhood, right? You're taught by your parents, no. Can I stay up late? No. Can I have my cell phone? No. So it's very hard for you to create conflict, right? So I think this is a lesson that I've used, and it has worked so far, and I will continue to learn new strategies. But I wanted to put for you guys, it's okay if you don't agree to raise your hand and say, you know what, I understand you have a higher position than me, but this is my opinion, and I want to make it clear. And don't be scared. And so I wanted to give that advice to all the women here and to the male to open that space for that conversation to happen. So Marina, do you want to talk about your perspective? How can we inspire other women?
So I just wanted to add there, and I think also to your prior point, there's a lot of strength and there's a lot of importance in that female-male partnership. It's critical. The female-female partnership and support is critical, of course. Yes. but the male-female partnership, it's probably even more. Not only on the woman's side to give women an opportunity to grow, but women actually, we're made up. Genetically, we're very different, right? There's the hunters, the men were the hunters, the women are the gatherers. We think differently, we function differently, but that's the beauty of it, and that's why you want diversity, right? And you know, to your earlier point in terms of looking at structure, I think that's important because in the boardroom, in your decision making, listening to different perspectives is just, it's key. It's key, and from the legal perspective, I can tell you, and especially my law firm, which thankfully is huge on diversity, we want to look the way our clients look. And I think it should be the same for the industry. Who are your customers? We should look the way our customers look. Why? Because we'll be able to understand them better. We'll be able to develop products that match their needs. Fintech is huge on inclusion, right? And women are underserved. So what better than to have a woman in your boardroom telling you how to send or how to actually market and develop a product for women who don't have access to it. So it's critical from the business perspective, not only from the general inclusion diversity, which is important, but it's from the business perspective because of who your clients are. And then for women, in terms of advice, embrace your female, you know, being a female, just embrace it. We're women, you know, we are loving sometimes, and sometimes we're fierce. I mean, the men know this for sure. So embrace it and be who you are, believe in what you do, and if you want it, you'll get there. Nothing's gonna stop you.
Arina, how can we inspire other women?
I'm speaking from my point of view as a female founder from the diversity team. Don't let a single no to ruin the rest of your day. Yeah. Absolutely. And also, other important thing is to filter the advice you follow by considering whatever the person following. So that would be my advice to you ladies, and we rule the world, right?
I think I'm gonna kind of use the advice and the inspiration. I think that I would like to step back a little bit and think. Sometimes the limit is on our minds, right? We have created so much literature about this that sometimes women, we get there and we're already thinking that we will be marginalized in some way because we're women, and that's not the case. I think, and I've come to uncover, working for all these great companies across the year, that you're really capable of getting to where you are when you know what you're talking about and when you are able to articulate your thoughts in a consistent way across. So my advice would be, do not even think about it. We shouldn't. Sometimes when talking a lot about that, we are already kind of creating that environment, and it's not. So that would be, I always seem to follow an advice from someone that told me, it doesn't matter if you're a woman, even think, you might think like a man, and just try to convince them if you know your ideas are great. So don't be like foolish, or do not really go by that stereotyping ahead of time, right? Sometimes we know that the gender gap exists, but just do not be blocked by that. And how do I inspire? I think that you have to really be able to get into difficult topics. I did that very early in my career, you know, getting into technology conversations with engineers, things that other people in my org were not able to do, and because they thought at that time, 15 years ago, and I'm not saying that these departments are not important, they are important, but some other people prefer to do customer service or marketing or even business development at the time. So I think that what has allowed me to grow across this year is be able to be in the hardest conversation, the conversation that sometimes not even the big business guy understand because it's very technical, but at the same time, learning how to interpret that to translate that into the business and be able to be in the middle, so they will always need you to talk, you know, to talk between those two worlds. That's how I will give advice to everyone here, especially to the women. Do not just block yourself just because you're a woman. Don't even think about it.
And I have two closing thoughts. I had an encounter this week with one of somebody I worked with a few years ago, and then she asked me for an advice, and she said, Priscilla, you've known me 10 years, you've worked with me in different industries, and she's also, of course, a female. And she said, what can I do to be successful? And my answer is, are you excellent? And a lot of people here are gonna laugh because I've been saying this the whole 3 days, but I think sometimes the definition of excellence is within each one of us, right? And if you want to grow, and if you say you want to be a woman that is really making a difference, you have to have excellence as part of your DNA. And you have to wake up every day when you do something, you're going to sign your name. That has to be excellent. And I have someone on my team, Anna, and one day she came to me and she's like, Pri, how can I do better? And what was my answer? Be excellent. And inspire me. So I think I want to leave that closing thought. It's not about the gender gap. I agree with you. You don't need always the seat on the table. You got to make the seat on the table, because if not, you're going to be waiting your entire life. But it's like, how do you interpret excellence in everything you do, and you give your all, and you learn from that if you don't, right? Instead of just, oh no, checkpoint, this is done, here, take it. And sometimes I do that a lot with my clients, with my team, and I said, can you sign for this? So is this final? Because I don't want to have to rewrite it, right? So it's like, I think this is the big inspiration is, let's focus on excellence and inspiration, not only for each other, but for females in the industry, so we can provide a platform like this, so we can continue to grow. And also women empowering women. Because I feel like sometimes we say we empower, but that doesn't really happen. That we are sometimes the one boycotting each other. So let's lift each other up, you know, and if we can't do that, then we're never going to be able to make a difference. So please count on the CrossTech conference to be a forum for all the women that are not C-level yet, but inspired to be C-level, or that just want to share their opinion. Because that's what I'm all about, and I'm very proud of this panel. It was hard to find inspirational women who have been in the industry for a long time, because there isn't that many, so I really studied my registration list and really study each of your LinkedIn profile to make sure that you're sitting here, we can continue to inspire everyone. So I'm very honored and thankful for this opportunity to be here.
Thank you so much.
Priscilla.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Rob has a question. Thank
you for helping.
Okay, so I know you're thinking this is just another old establishment white guy crashing a party. But
We love it, though.
thank you, Marina. But my point is, I go to industry conferences and I look on the stage and it's 80% men. So my observation and my challenge to CrossTech and Priscilla is the conferences next year, we should shoot for 50-50 mix on the stage with men and women. Anything I'm involved in, I will do my part to make sure they're equal.
Good thought.
Thank you guys for supporting, and thank you for the attendance.